Good afternoon, everybody, and I'll turn it over to Councilmember Lori Kinnear, who's Chair of Public Safety.
Thank you, Council President. Can everyone hear me? I've got new headphones and we're trying all this new equipment for the first time, and you know how that goes, especially if you're a little challenged technology-wise. So welcome to the Public Safety and Community Health Committee meeting, and I need to have minutes approved, so I would consider a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Nays? Okay, good, thank you. We did get one request to move a consent agenda item to discussion, and that was from Mr. Cathcart. He is not here yet, so I'm going to hold off on that. What we can do, however, is get Sergeant Sparing. I don't see him on the call.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Sorry. You're right in front of me. You're just too close. If you could go ahead and give us a canine update, that would be great.
I will. First of all, I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. Something came up while we were at a training event, so that's why I sent the email afterwards. I'll always try to touch base with you guys and make sure that you're getting that, even if I have to miss it.
Thank you.
So for May of 21, our deployment number is 90. We had 24 people located, one person contacted. That's a 4.16 bite ratio. Ironically enough, that brings our year-to-date bite ratio to 4.16 exactly. So 144 people located and 6 overall contacts. So Officer Stone and Haywire, in May, they were trying to contact a male who was wanted for escape from community custody as well as rape. He had run from police numerous times in the past, and this time he fled the back of his residence with another female on foot. Officer Stone, I think I'm more impressed with Officer Stone, had to run with Haywire on leash to get in front of the female before the dog could even be a factor, since there were 2 people in front of him at that time and one was not wanted. Once he did that, he was giving canine commands at the same time, and the suspect stopped running, gave up, no force whatsoever. So we, as a unit, certified all of our dogs again. So again, Washington State requires 2-year certification standards. We certify it every year. We also WSPCA certify, so at a higher standard than the state requires. So that's 2 different certifications, and all 6 of our dogs completed that. We hosted the WSPCA conference, spring conference. It was the first time since 2018 that conference has been able to be held. So we had over 130 canine teams here the very first part of May. And at the end of that conference, our members, Officer Belitz, received his WSPCA trainer certificate, and Officer Buckman received his official WSPCA master trainer certificate. So your canine unit now has 2 master trainers, certified master trainers, and that's pretty rare for an agency to have 1, let alone 2. And then last, but probably most important, Officer Fabian and Canine King received a whole pile of thank you cards from 3rd grade classes up at Wilson Elementary after visiting a show and tell up there and doing some outstanding community outreach. So that is your canine update for May 21.
Thank you. Those are great. Any questions from council? I so appreciate these updates. I do want to have a point of privilege here that I'd like to just comment on. And I want to say that since Sergeant Sparing has been giving us these monthly updates, I believe most of us have developed a different perspective regarding the canine unit. That said, I'm still hearing from constituents that SPD continues to tell them that council's not supportive of their efforts, and I would like to dispel that notion. And I would like to also talk about some of the items I and other council members have pursued for SPD. So notably the public safety levy that I and other council members campaigned for this, and it passed overwhelmingly. Council President and I proposed 4 additional traffic officers using school zone dollars. Council President and I supported and really advocated for a downtown precinct. Council voted to fund 10 e-bikes for the downtown precinct. And I've been working with Chief Meidel to find a location for a new public safety building. These and many other items that Council funded and things that I've personally supported related to the police department have happened. So why I'm saying this is I feel frustrated when I hear from others that this Council does not support the police department, especially when it comes from inside SPD. And again, Sergeant Sparing, you've helped tremendously in getting us to move forward with what K9 is doing and the good work that you personally are doing for that unit. So thank you. Thank you for indulging me in that little comment. So staff requests, go ahead, Councilmember Stratton.
I just have a quick question, and maybe this is going to come up later. But you said the bikes, and I was just wondering, where are we at with the bikes? Have those been purchased, and are we ready to roll with the bikes? For the
Roll. I like that. That's a good pun. I don't know, but somebody on this call could probably answer that question. I don't know if it would be Tonya Wallace or perhaps Chief Meidel, not sure, but somebody might be able to answer that question for us. And if not, we'll get you that answer.
Okay.
I
So,
don't know if you're looking to speak or not.
okay. So we'll find out.
Okay, thanks.
First staff request was the Airway Heights amended water supply agreement, and that was Marlene Weist. But Tonya, are you going to be doing that?
I apologize. I'm a council member. I was redirecting, so I missed the question. I apologize.
Okay, so Marlene, I see you on the call. Are you going to be briefing this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, I'm going to turn it over to the city administrator from Airway Heights, Albert Tripp, who's here to update us. If you recall, we entered into this agreement with Airway Heights in April of 2018. Airway Heights is requesting the second one-year extension that we have in that agreement. As you know, they've been dealing with PFOS, PFOA contamination issues in Airway Heights. So I'm going to let Albert, and I think Kevin Anderson is here as well.
Thank you very much, Marlene. Marlene, if I could have sharing privileges, I'd like to bring up the PowerPoint.
Annalie, can he share?
Yes.
Okay, can everyone see the presentation okay? Okay.
Yes, we see it. Thanks.
Thank you. Chair Kanar, City Council, thank you for the opportunity to present and provide an update regarding the amended water supply agreement with Airway Heights. This afternoon, Public Works Director Kevin Anderson and I will provide an update regarding the status of that agreement to date. Start with, in terms of an outline of the content we'll cover this afternoon, we'll review the contamination event in terms of a brief context of the events that led up to the contamination, discuss a bit about the water supply agreement between the City of Spokane and City of Airway Heights, provide a progress on the water supply improvements, discuss the schedule for the replacement of the water resources, talk about the water use and conservation measures that we have underway, and then lastly conclude with any questions from the City Council. Starting with the PFOS contamination, in 2017, the Air Force, in conjunction with Department of Defense, contacted the City of Airway Heights, and we initiated a testing process for our municipal wells. This was done in coordination with DoD and the Air Force, as Department of Defense had noticed nationally that communities adjacent to military installations were seeing sources of PFOS and P4 within their water supply. And so out of precaution, city wells were tested for that particular substance. in May of 2017, and 3 of our 4 wells tested positive. That included wells 1 and 4, which tested with a level of 1,400 parts per trillion. Well number 9, which contained 1,520 parts per trillion. And then Park West, which had a non-detect. But cumulatively, those particular levels are about 20 times higher than the EPA lifetime health advisory level of 70 parts per trillion. The extent of the contamination is shown in the map on the right-hand side. The blue area reflects the sample area performed by the Air Force. As of December 2019, 370 tests were, total wells were tested. 90 of those wells were above the lifetime health advisory, about a quarter of those which were tested, and the concentrations measured as high as 5,700 parts per trillion. All of the affected wells were disconnected from the system as of May 2017. So our short-term water supply restoration efforts, those included the use of a temporary seasonal granulated activated carbon filtration system on well 9. And as I go into some of the next slides, it'll become clear why that's temporary in nature. Other efforts that we undertook included amending the water supply agreement that we have with the City of Spokane that occurred between the City of Spokane and Airway Heights in 2018, which provides for an emergency supplemental short-term additional supply. As noted earlier, it's a 2-year term, which allows for the extension of 1-year increments up to 5 years, and it provides for a supplemental intertie connection. The temporary seasonal granular activated carbon filtration, as noted here, and as you can see in the photo, it's exposed to weather. So that makes it summertime seasonal in nature, in that we can only use it June to September unless more permanent improvements are constructed. The duration for that lease is about 3 years, and it's a GAC system filter media that's utilized to filter out the PFAS from the water supply. Long term, in terms of if this particular option is one of the ones in which it's constructed, it would incorporate 4 duplex GAC systems running in parallel in order to remove PFAS from the system itself. But through our tests so far, we've noticed no detects as far as PFAS in the treated samples. Another temporary short-term effort that was undertaken was the amendment of the water supply agreement with the City of Spokane. It supplements the water supply by adding an additional 1,400 gallons per minute at a second intertie connection point. It adds additional capacity on temporary nature until a long-term supply is brought online and restored. As noted earlier, the term is 2 years with the ability to extend annually up to 5 years. The agreement also incorporates periodic project updates, status updates, and then it also requires water conservation efforts. As I conclude my portion of this presentation, before turning it over to Public Works Director Kevin Anderson, I just wanted to thank the City Council for your continued support for this particular water agreement, and that it has allowed the City of Airway Heights to continue to provide public water service without disruption. It's also supported us in protecting public health in the state through the availability of it, and allowed us to continue to foster economic development. And lastly, as we continue to work towards the long-term restoration of a water source, this particular supplemental source has provided us with the time and resources to be able to do so. And at this point, I will turn it over to Kevin Anderson.
Thank you, Albert. If you don't mind, I think I'll have you continue to man, if you could, your computer with, pushing forward with our presentation. Very well. This is a list of partners that we have been working with on this water supply restoration project. It's primarily Air Force related. Fairchild, there's a national organization called the Air Force Civil Engineering Center out of San Antonio. UMass Army Corps of Engineers is actually leading the effort, working in tandem with the Air Force. A joint venture of Bryce Environmental and AECOM out of Anchorage is the primary consultant. Newfields is a hydrogeologist, and then we also have local regulatory agencies, Department of Health and Department of Ecology, we've been working very closely with. Overall, the work on this effort was initiated 2 years ago in 2019. It's being pursued as a non-time critical removal action under CERCLA. To date, hydrogeologic studies and alternative treatment analyses have been evaluated. And we do have, we show there is the next steps are the completion of the ECA, and that is true. We do have what's called a draft ECA. That's an engineering evaluation cost analysis. And we expect later on this summer that as that gets concluded, we'll have some public meetings to inform the public of the work that's been accomplished so far. But the options that are identified in that study basically come down to two categories. Either we're going to locate a new well outside the contaminated area or wells, or treatment of existing and future wells. Essentially, what we've done so far could be summarized as we're looking at multiple strategies that include that, as I said, a replacement water source, as well as some aquifer storage and recovery options. For fully replacing the water resource, it's going to take some time. We're looking at currently between 2023 and 2025 for those efforts to be accomplished. But in the last few months, you may have seen this in the news. We did secure nearly $15 million of funding from the state legislature of the Preferred project, which is a $22 million project. And we are continuing to pursue the remaining more than $7 million through the feds in whatever options that we can obtain. That's ongoing. Wanted to pivot and just talk a little bit about how we take water use efficiency seriously. We have a water use efficiency plan for the last several years that one of the main tenets of it is to maximize the use of reclaimed water. We currently have a number of water transmission lines that connect to parks and industrial users. We're continuing to extend those. We do require contractors to use reclaimed water over potable water for items like dust control and other construction uses. And we continue to promote uses within our community through newsletters, meetings, and website and social media. So in terms of reuse and aquifer recharge, just as a means of background, in 2012, we completed a state-of-the-art water reclamation facility. And the product that we generate was a very clean Class A type reclaimed water that we use for irrigation, for construction, and then for those items that aren't being used for irrigation or construction, the reclaimed water percolates into the adjacent paleo channel, which is a geologic formation that accepts the reclaimed water that's been treated and provides for aquifer recharge. And that has led to some pretty good numbers in terms of the amount of water that we use. Our water consumption on a per capita basis is relatively low. And just as a comparison, we show average day demand and peak day demand in comparison with the city of Spokane. We're also very interested in improving our water use efficiency. Our current water use efficiency goal is to reduce summer demands by 5% by 2021. That's actually dated. It should be by 2022, and we are on track to meet that goal. Since 2018, we have extended transmission piping for reclaimed water by more than a mile, and all of our athletic fields at the New City Recreation Complex are irrigated using reclaimed water. And this Department of Corrections facility, you may have also seen this in the news. The state legislature gave us $1.9 million to construct a facility or to construct a project that removed non-potable uses from potable users, and we're currently using reclaimed water now for all of those: irrigation, industrial, boiler water. It repurposes water that we would normally use in our potable water system that would supply about 360 new homes. So we are making progress on our goal of a restored water supply. In the next 12 months, the engineering studies have been completed. They're still in draft form, but the public process is on the horizon. We've secured, or we hope to secure, the remaining project funding for the project that we are pushing towards, and we hope to have initiated that project. We are strong believers in being good stewards of water, and especially when it comes to using water reuse. Our reclaimed water system is something we're awfully proud of. And as Albert said, we do value our relationship with the city of Spokane. This has been a challenging time for us, to say the least, and we really appreciate the assistance that you've given us. And that's our presentation.
Thank you. Any questions? I can't see everybody, so.
Oh, Council President here. I was just wondering if you could describe a little more your preferred water replacement project. What does that look like? Where is it located, et cetera?
And just keeping in mind that we're running ahead, or behind, so we'll have to keep it brief.
Nutshell, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to just give just a quick overview of it. So we are trying to locate the water replacement project outside of the contaminated area. We continue to work with ecology in terms of an exact location. That's something that we're still nailing down as far as a physical location. As you can tell from that map of the affected area, the contamination zone was pretty wide and pretty widespread as well. But essentially, it's located outside of that location. And as Kevin noted, as we continue to work through the permitting process, we'll hone in or nail down a specific location. But right now, it's spread over a much larger geographic area. And that's also supplemented, Kevin touched on this earlier, by a ASR project, an aquifer storage and recovery project. So very similar to the reclaimed water application that we put back into the local aquifer. We believe we've also identified a location where potable water can be infused or injected back into the local aquifer in a safe manner that doesn't allow it to get contaminated and then be also withdrawn for subsequent use at a later point in time.
All right. Thanks.
Go ahead, Councilmember Mumm.
I just want to say congratulations. I can't imagine if our city was faced with the challenge that you're faced with that kind of contamination, and I'm so thankful we've been able to help you over the years. And also, congratulations on your conservation efforts. I mean, you're beating us, bottom line. So good job. Yeah. I just had a couple questions. Are you, or have you changed your timing of water? Is that part of how you've been able to reach your goals? Or maybe there's some things we could actually borrow from you to get some ideas of why you're so much lower than us in terms of personal consumption. Maybe your lawns don't have as many lawns, I don't know. And then my last question is agriculture. Does any of your water go to agriculture?
Kevin, do you want to speak to the timing on in terms of the timing of our water usage? Maybe start by noting in terms of our rate schedule, one of the strategies that we're employing is a tiered system when it comes to water usage. So during the fall, winter months, the rates for water usage is somewhat slightly less. When it comes to the peak season summer period, there is a uptick in terms of the cost associated with the water. So it's priced to be reflective of the highest demand period in terms of an increased cost. Kevin, can you speak to those other elements?
Yeah, the question about agriculture, we have no real agriculture to speak of in Airway Heights. There's some limited use of that, but really not a lot there. I think there's a couple of things as to why we are using less water per capita. One, there is an overall culture, I think, here for the past several years. We've had water restrictions during the summer, and that's kind of put people on notice that it's a precious resource, and that it certainly does get people's attention. And as Albert said, it also gets people attention when you're charging more for high water uses, for sure. Hitting people in their pocketbooks can be very effective. And then the other thing is, as we talked about, is using reclaimed water for every possible way that we possibly can. The fact that we're currently using it for most of the city irrigated fields that we have ownership of is a big part of that. And then just encouraging, as we said, contractors to use it in every way we possibly can. That's part of our mission.
That is great. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you, Mr. Tripp, Mr. Anderson. Appreciate your time.
Can I ask a quick question?
Really quick.
Really quick. Marlene, we have to be really quick. I love this using reclaimed water. Is the city of Spokane doing that when we water parks and ball fields and that kind of thing?
We aren't right now. We've done some piloting of purple pipe reclaimed water. Some of our challenge is the river has a right to our effluent. When the water is low in the river, which is when we would use the water for irrigation. So we have a little different circumstance than Airway Heights, which is using the Paleo Channel for their discharge. We have not worked out a way to deal with the river's right to the water and accommodate reuse. So that's still under investigation.
Thanks.
Thank you, Marlene. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on. Tanya, now you're up. 5 minutes or less, if you can. SBO for ARPA administrative support.
Yes, council members. Today you will be discussing a resolution that sets out the framework for our American Rescue Plan funding. It is the framework. You've also got in front of you a ordinance to create the fund so that we can receive and allocate those dollars. So what I have for you in terms of this special budget ordinance is the administrative support and the funding for that so that we can administer, report, and track how these dollars are used in our community. It is a sum of money for the duration of the ARP funding period. It's $1.15 million from our ARPA dollars, or our American Rescue Plan dollars. It's in three main parts for three main types of positions, and then there is $250,000 to help cover other incidentals such as computers or travel or things that we just don't know or what we can anticipate at this time. So first is a community coordinator, an executive coordinator. So this would be somebody we imagine right now part-time to help support all of our efforts and coordinate us. Also is some financial support. So this could be a financial analyst. This will help with all the reporting, help with the SBOs that we know are going to come through, help with the analysis and documenting our analysis, which will be required of Treasury for certain categories of spend. And then lastly, administrative support. That would be somebody that helps coordinate meetings, puts out agendas, keeps track of minutes, so that we all stay informed and can help with communication efforts as well. So there it is in very brief form. I know you have not had a lot of time to sit with this, but we're open to questions.
Questions for Tonya. Go ahead, Mr. Cathcart.
Yeah, thank you. I guess is the plan to vote on this tonight, or will this be at a future council meeting?
This is just the introduction to the committee. You do have time to vote on this further.
Okay, because I guess my inherent concern, without being able to dig in a little deeper, is $1.1 million is just an obscene amount of money to basically write checks and track some things. And I'm just wondering, is this the best use of $1.1 million? And we still don't have planners that we need. I really think we need some code enforcement folks that we need. And we've not been able to move on those, but we're moving on this pretty darn quick. And so I just question the amount of money that we're spending for these tracking purposes. So I'd like to dig in more and just find out more information before we do vote.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councilmember Mum.
Is this amount, considering it's going to be over $80 million and less than probably 2% of the total amount, is that consistent with other programs where we're tracking federal grants in terms of administration expense?
That is a great question, Councilmember Mum. Typically, it's 10% is a cap on administration, so this is well below that. And as you have pointed out, and the only thing I can say is this is an $80 million program where there is no administrative staff right now to administer an $80 million program. And our understanding, given the framework that is coming about, is that we do want community involvement. We will have significant reporting requirements. In fact, the first report is due to the Treasury effective as through July 31st of 2021, just next month, and it is due on August 30th of 2021.
If the outcome, if we don't follow this and don't have enough administrative support, we can have audit findings which could cost the city millions of dollars. Isn't that correct? It's a possibility. It's definitely a risk. I think the bigger risk or concern is there really is not administrative staff to handle this. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions from council? Great. Tonya, thanks so much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have Mr. Perkins, Mr. Alexander, to give us a homeless and shelter update.
Thank you, Councilmember Kinnear. Johnny Perkins, City Administrator, along with Cupid Alexander, Director for the Division Neighborhood Housing Human Services. Chris Becker will not be joining us, so I'm going to do my best to cover her slide. Just a brief opening and introduction. This is going to be a homeless update as it relates to Mayor Woodward's initiatives, council budget approved and supported. We're going to talk about a couple things this afternoon briefly. One is some of the accomplishments that both the mayor and council can celebrate together. Two, talk about some of the next steps, things we're looking forward as we go to the next stage in the homeless outreach efforts. Third, briefly highlight the point in time count, which I believe you all should have received from me last Thursday. Number four, do a brief summary of all of this. And then five, open it up for discussion. Mr. Alexander and I will split up the slides, and I'm going to have him start with the next slide, which will be our accomplishments.
All right, thanks, Johnny. So a critical part of this update is indicating what we've done to this point. Many of you are aware that the mayor was able to announce the Canon RFP, so we can select a partner to operate the 24-hour flex space. So I think we should be celebrating that. I want to thank those who were involved. There were many iterations, and I really want to thank the CHHS team for the quick work and the turnaround on the RFP. I want to thank the city administrator for pushing us and trying to get the best outcomes for that. Additionally, the work with the Salvation Army is moving forward and with VOA, so it continues to push forward in regards to the young adult shelter. Additionally, our other accomplishments over the past several months have been in our winter sheltering strategy, which included utilizing hotel and motel options in compliance with physical distancing needed and the concerns our unhoused communities had to physical proximity. And the ongoing work with the regional leadership group on directing their support towards delivering not only the bridge housing model, but understanding how the model will help move our system to making sure homelessness is brief and non-recurring. So moving forward, some of the next steps. So where are we headed? Right now, the Continuum of Care has a 5-year plan with specific deliverables aligning how we do this work, specifically with where the mayor and city council would like to head is key. We will be presenting a point in time count briefing to council, the COC, and the CHHS board over the next few weeks. We additionally will provide a high-level overview today on the point-in-time count in this presentation. And finally, under the direction of the mayor and the city administrator, we'll be taking a deeper dive into our data from the Housing Action Plan to the longitudinal data, along with the point-in-time count data to help inform strategic housing investments. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Johnny. I had it handed over to Chris, but Chris is not here, so wanted to be sure I hand it over to Johnny.
Thank you, Cupid. I want to also commend Cupid Alexander for his leadership and support in putting that RFP together. It was quite the collaborative effort, but in partnering with him, we were able to get that released Friday. And really, I want to encourage anyone who is interested, please apply. This is a great city, and we've got a lot to offer. We want you to be a partner with the city of Spokane. In terms of some of the things that go along with what we're trying to do as it relates to keeping beautifying Spokane, doing some litter cleanup, graffiti abatement, and encampment services. What we found was our staff was only working in terms of their hours scheduled 6:30 to 3:30 Monday through Friday in terms of accomplishing the goal of taking care of litter removal, graffiti abatement, and encampment abatements. And we just found that wasn't really getting us where we needed to go. So one thing, and by the way, we only had 9 people for the whole city as it relates to graffiti, litter, and encampments. So we discovered that wasn't going to get to where we needed to go, because while the downtown is important and critical, there are neighborhoods and communities that are just as important and critical. So the addition of this enhanced staffing and hours is so we can do the entire city. Yes, are we going to focus on downtown with some of the hot spots? Absolutely. But we can never, ever forget about our community and our neighborhoods. So what does that mean? So we're going to double our staff from 9 to 10. And we're going to separate those individuals into dedicated teams. So you're going to have a graffiti team. You're going to have a litter removal team. You're going to have a homeless encampment team. And you're going to have a downtown maintenance team. These groups of teams, dedicated teams, will be able to serve not just the core of the city and downtown, but also citywide. The other things we're going to do, we're going to a 7-day-a-week schedule, and we're enhancing our hours Monday through Friday. We're going 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday we'll go 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. The plan is for this to all start on July 1, and we will be coming forward with a special budget ordinance for council to consider here shortly in terms of asking for additional funding to support this through the end of the current fiscal year. Cupid?
Thanks, Johnny. So really quickly, as I mentioned before, this is a high-level overview of the point-in-time count data. Additionally, I wanted to thank the CHHS data team and mention this. We conducted the point-in-time count using a different methodology under HUD guidance, and we received their written approval along with the majority of other communities executing their point-in-time count this year. The primary difference being the unsheltered population was not counted due to the COVID protocol. So there was concerns about individuals being in direct proximity as a volunteer with those who are unhoused as the physical count. So we joined many other communities and we made sure we got written HUD approval on the process moving forward. So this information will be finalized over the next couple weeks. We have a finalized version. What I'm trying to say is to get an approximate unsheltered count, CHHS is looking at longitudinal outreach data to provide a holistic overview. We will have a general understanding of the holistic unhoused community, but under strict guidance executed this year, we had to do the count differently. As you can see now, the number is 992 as our most regional count. Key components of the count include a severe overrepresentation of communities of color in a part of our unhoused population, and that much of our homeless community is comprised of single males. An in-depth presentation will be scheduled upon your request. CHHS is ready to work with council on the briefing dates. And so that's just a high level. I'm going to hand it back over to Johnny to make sure we're staying within our time frame.
Thank you, Cupid. So Councilmember Kinnear, Council President, members of the City Council, in summary, we should be very excited about where we're going, where we've been, and where we need to go and where we are going. A Cannon Shelter 90-day extension. Thank you, council members, for that support. An RFP that was released Friday that we're looking forward, encouraging as many providers as possible wanting to take part in that to really extend that day use 24/7 service. A young adult shelter receiving some additional support for that and the funding, and of course the Way Out shelter going to Bridge. Some of those accomplishments that we continue to work on. What are the next steps? One, there's four primarily. One, selection of the Cannon Shelter finalists for the RFP to continue to run that program going forward from September 1 on. Two is the young adult shelter site selection. We want to complete that process. Three is more enhancement with our regional partners, getting our service providers more engaged with our pods. We're going to be reaching out to our service providers to get them fully engaged with us as it relates to what our pod teams are doing. And then finally, as I mentioned, the enhancements to litter cleanup, graffiti abatement, and homeless encampments. We think by adding additional staff and hours, we'll start to work towards keeping Spokane beautiful, improving our downtown, and also improving the quality of life in our neighborhoods and communities. This time we would entertain any questions that you might have.
Thank you. That was great, and you stuck to your time. I'm so impressed. And I know, Council President, you had some questions. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, the first question I have has to do with the unsheltered people, because essentially the numbers that you've given us have to do with how many beds we're providing regionally, so that stays pretty flat. It's quite a bit down even for that of the beds that we used to have. But in terms of the unsheltered, what they told us last fall was that they were going to use, essentially, if I understand, HMIS data that we cover on people who get services to do an estimate of the unsheltered homeless people. And it's been, 5 months almost since the point in time, but we didn't actually need to do that during the point in time. So I'm wondering what's the methodology and what have the preliminary numbers, or when did we get preliminary numbers? I know you haven't given us final numbers yet.
Yeah, so, sorry, I can hear a background of myself. That's throwing me off. So we received the numbers. We finished the count in January. We did our analysis over the months of February and March for the information that we gathered. The longitudinal data had to be updated by our partners, and right now, that David Lewis and the data team is making that information available to you all this week. So when we give the briefing, we can give a breakdown of not only how we gathered the information. I don't have the rough unsheltered numbers in front of me currently, but we will be giving you that information over the next week or two. And what we'll do is we'll nuance not only our methodology with collecting the information for the sheltered count, but how we collected the longitudinal data for the unsheltered count, which is what a lot of people are asking about, because if you're not going out and physically counting individuals, how are we going to make an approximation and the methodology so we can make sure that our numbers are reasonable and legitimate?
So it looked like from 2019 to 2020, it looked like our unsheltered numbers were up about 50% or possibly more. And I'm just wondering at this point, do we know, are they up from 2020 generally?
So in general, and that was some of the conversations that we had, what we're seeing is almost like a flattening, but we consider that in combination with COVID. So a lot of family members were housing individuals in situations that they normally would not have. So what we saw was that some people were allowing family members who they might have been, moving along to stay longer due to the physical distancing requirement because of the COVID pandemic. So what I think more importantly, Council President, is next year we're going to really see, especially as physical distancing is no longer the biggest issue, we're going to see a possible increase because people won't have that generosity extended to them. And we can see where the trend lines are going because of the economic situation and housing affordability in this community, the spillover effect.
My other question, as City Administrator knows, I was trying to get these numbers a couple weeks ago, and my understanding was the mayor got briefed in April, and we didn't get these numbers till Thursday, and I'm just wondering, is that correct? And does someone have an explanation of why council had to wait 6 weeks to get the same numbers that the mayor got in April?
I'll let the City Administrator address that question.
My briefing was June 1, then I released the information on June 3rd. Prior to that, the numbers were still under review, being looked at to make sure accuracy. that all the data was correct and accurate before we were able to release that to the council. So I wanted to make sure that staff had time to just look at that one more time before I got my briefing, which that was just based partly on my schedule. And so the earliest I could get to that was June 1. And then as soon as my briefing was finished and we had a summary of the document, then we were able to release that information.
I guess my question is, why were the numbers good enough for the mayor to see and not the council back in April? That's my question that I don't understand the answer to.
The numbers were not finalized. The numbers were not finalized at that time. Staff was still doing their final due diligence and review. And once that was completed, then I had asked for a briefing. So I made sure I understood what those numbers were conveying to not just the mayor, but to myself, to you all, and the public as well.
No, I appreciate that the numbers are better now than they were, but why didn't that get done before it was shared with the mayor? That's my question, is what's the difference between the mayor and the council as far as when we get to see numbers? And is that going to continue in the future?
We're always looking to improve our processes. We're always looking to improve our forms of communication, but I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable myself with the numbers that I personally, as I do for any reports and information, understand what it's saying before it gets released under my purview. That's kind of always been my style, just to make sure that I understand the information correctly. So when questions are asked, I'll be able to articulate, provide answers to the best of my ability. And up until that point, I wanted to make sure the numbers were in a place where once I received them, I could understand them, and then I would be able to articulate that information to you once I had received that. And I did that as fast as I could and as timely a manner as I could.
All right, moving on. So we've got lots of concerns for people that the Way Out shelter is going to close at the end of this month for remodeling and repurposing. And my understanding is we're going to replace those beds with equivalent beds of 24-hour co-ed low barrier beds. And I'm just wondering, what's the current plan on getting those in place before June 30th?
Yeah, and I can answer that question. So right now we are talking about, and we're discussing, and actually the council, the city administrator pulled together a meeting this week to talk about the options. One of them is going to be extending all available contracted beds for winter sheltering over the course of the summer to recapture that. As you all know, usually this community offloads during the summer shelter space. We're trying to make sure that we're recapturing all of those. I want to be honest here, though. Some of the community partners that provide winter sheltering beds are not interested in extending over the summer. We've asked them for that. We said, hey, can we recapture these beds? They said, no, it's not within, one of them told us that it's not within the purview of what they do in this community. They would now allow us to recapture those beds. So we're going to recapture as many of them as we can. There is a hoteling strategy that we can, or moteling strategy that we're looking at. We've run some cost estimates for how long it would take. And then there's going to have to be other considerations that we're going to have to consider. The difficulty with this is that even some of the spaces that were used before are either no longer available, or the partners are unwilling to allow us to use that space at this time. So right now we're saying, let's capture every single bed that we can and extend every contract. So I had David Lewis and team, they've looked at every single contract that we have to capture those beds that might come offline on summer. And the partners who are unwilling to do that, we might do a gentle nudge to see if there's any other influence that we can have to capture those beds, and then capture any other beds that we can with our hoteling strategy.
It sounded like Salvation Army is more than willing to provide the staffing for it if we can find a vacant building. And I'm just wondering if that is
correct. That is correct. And so with the Salvation Army, they did indicate that they would be willing to staff. I know that we were looking at other buildings that were county owned or city owned, and ones that would be able to not have to have the types of capital repairs, so we can go in and house individuals. And that's currently what we're still looking under, like I said before, but we're also extending every single contract that we can and trying to convince our partners that have done this work to allow us to come in and operate, even if they're not running it. I do want to remark that due to the good work you all indicated last year, This community usually has an offloading of warming beds in the summer, and this would be probably one of the first summers where we're trying to recapture many of those beds to make sure that our unhoused community is stable.
I'll defer to Councilmember Stratton.
Can I move on? We have Councilmember Stratton and Councilmember Wilkerson.
Yep. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Chief, but I just wanted to, and I want to leave this open for Councilmember Cathcart if he wants to join in with me. I just want to say that I hope when we do the bridge housing at the Way Out shelter, I really hope that we make an attempt or we make an effort to talk to the neighborhood before that happens. I'm going to be very honest and say that since this whole thing started over in the Emerson Garfield neighborhood with the Way Out shelter, I think it could have been handled much better. It wasn't. We started communications with the neighbors and the businesses, and everything stopped. So that area feels like they've been completely dumped. We're trying to rebuild trust now. Councilmember Cathcart and I have been out visiting with those businesses. There's a lot of harm was done, and I think if we have somebody that can go in and at least do an update or some education, let them know what we're doing in their neighborhood for the benefit of their businesses and the safety of their neighborhood, they're going to feel more a part of it, and we're not going to see what I know Councilmember Mumm has seen it, I've seen it, I've heard it, Councilmember Cathcart has. It's just really unfortunate. The city can do better, and I just really encourage that. I'm willing to help out whatever I need to do to get those neighborhoods aware of what's going on and feeling good about it. But I appreciate your work. I know this has been really hard. Councilmember Cathcart, do you want to finish up?
Before that, Councilmember Wilkerson is next, and then Councilmember Cathcart.
Thank you, Councilmember Kinnear, and I'll be brief. So just a couple of things. I guess I was concerned when the comment was made about rechecking the numbers. So I guess who actually does that number checking? Who finesses that count? And then when it was in the best position or had been cleared all whatever the hurdles were, then they were brought to council. Then my next question is for city administrator. Those 10 positions, do we have open positions in those departments now? So is that 10 more plus in addition to the potentially open positions that we have going forward? So numbers and employees.
So I'll answer the first part of the numbers, and then I'll hand it over to the city administrator. When you're doing the point-in-time count, and up until the point-in-time count, we had indicated what the change was going to be, that the unsheltered count due to physical proximity wasn't going to happen, and that it's going to be a sheltered count. And that additionally, we would have to do a longitudinal assessment as per the guidance of HUD, but the point-in-time count in and of itself was the sheltered count. And so when we had that information and when we provided an outline of how we did the work and we had to submit it to HUD, we were finished with that. So there's a submission to HUD that happens prior to our presentation to y'all because of our entitlement city status and the COC and all of the information that we have to provide. So that was the process that we followed. The only difference this year is that usually you would have volunteers that go out to the community and go do their point-in-time count check. Most of the communities in the United States did not do it this way. We had indicated that that was the way we were going to do it as aligned with HUD, and then we had made sure that we got a written verification of the process being the way that it was okay for us to do it pretty much like that. So, and then I'll hand it over to
Yeah. Before you leave, so Cupid, we only do the one point-in-time count. I hear rumblings that we do quarterly counting in our city. Is that just misinformation?
No, so the point-in-time count is only, yeah, there's a point-in-time count that's the yearly, but we do have a CMIS system that gets quarterly updated that David and the team uses as a requirement for individuals for our coordinated entry and assessment, and that longitudinal data tells a better story, but the point-in-time count is a requirement by HUD. So we have to do that, and it's something that we have to report out on, but to get a better understanding, it's best to use the longitudinal data because it tells a longer story versus a brief date and time in the middle of the winter. So there's different requirements that we have, all coming from HUD, and one of them is our Coordinated Information System, or our Management Information System, our CMIS, and some people call it HMIS. And then there's the point in time count, which is a snapshot, and they're all requirements of HUD.
Well, my request is I would like the more long overview, if that could be presented to council at least twice a year or quarterly. If that's going to give us a better snapshot to help us make better decisions, then I don't want to go for a one and done once a year. And that's what we base our decision making and funding processes on. So if that can be looked at and brought back, if not to the whole council, I would certainly be interested in that information.
Happy to provide the council whichever report outs that you need. The team would be more than happy to. So you can coordinate with the city administrator. I would ask you to work with him to make sure that we're aligning all of our presentations. But yes, upon their approval, we're happy to share it.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Cathcart.
Well, Jim, you've got to answer that employment question.
Go ahead.
I wasn't going to forget about that, Councilmember Wilkerson.
Mm-hmm.
So those positions, 10, are going to be at new positions. They're going to be temp seasonal, and the reason they're temp seasonal, in order to get staff on as quickly as possible. The hiring process takes a little bit longer than I would like. I will let you know, ultimately, I would like those 10 to be permanent employees, but to get them here right away, to get this program initiated the way it needs to be initiated, we're going to do temp seasonal, and then we're going to work towards making them permanent employees. And just as a sidebar, I am looking very closely right now at every vacancy in every department. Apparently there was a miscommunication that a hiring freeze was still on. So there's a note coming out from me either later today or tomorrow, which makes it very clear there's no hiring freeze. Get moving right now. Look at your list. I'm going to be coming back and asking you about what are we doing to move things along in planning and the other code enforcement positions, and quite frankly, every division where we need to be hiring people to get projects moved along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now Councilmember Cathcart.
Thank you. And I don't want to belabor this too much, but I appreciate the comments from Councilman Stratton, and I agree. I think communication, there was a lot of breakdown, especially in those early days, but even throughout, we would continue to hear from folks in the area and the neighborhood, just complaints and concerns about what was happening. And I'm hoping that as we move forward, that there's some pretty good conversations happening, especially with those direct neighbors. There's a lot of investment as well that was planned, that was kind of put on hold, that's going to help that entire neighborhood, and potentially could help the folks that are transitioning. Is what that is being looked at closely, and that we're going to help to make sure that those investments happen. On the point in time count, I noticed that we didn't get any information on some of those traditional questions that have been asked in the past regarding point of origin of the individual or reasons for homelessness. And I don't know, did those just get cut out because of COVID? And if that's the case, will they be included going forward? I think that that's really important data to have to see kind of meeting homelessness and where folks are arriving. I think that's really good information to have. And so it'd be really beneficial to get that provided to us. And then lastly, I'll just throw out, Johnny, would love to chat more with you about improving civil service so that we can get folks hired more quickly. I think that's something we really got to focus on.
And Councilmember Cathcart, and frankly, Council President, Councilmember Kinnear, the entire council, my commitment to you is we will be communicating with the neighborhoods. We will not just be zone dropping in someone's backyard and announcing something's coming. In fact, I went out to the Browns Addition Neighborhood Council and spoke with them about the Cannon Shelter contract getting extended and the RFP being put out for consideration. So I'm a big believer in that communication, and my pledge and commitment to you is we will not just be dropping in someone's backyard and announcing something without having thorough conversations, myself and Mr. Alexander, with the communities in which we will be working with them in partnership.
Yeah, and I agree, Councilmember Stratton and Cathcart. You know, when you're inheriting this work and things are kind of moving, you're still trying to figure out what promises were made, what we need to walk back. Our commitment is to the community holistically, and how that can be evidenced is through either good neighbor agreements or proactive communications, because there seems to be sometimes information is shared relatively quickly from irrefutable sources. So if it's not coming from the mayor's team or the city administrator or myself, then make sure you bring that up to me or to the city administrator, and we can kind of get these things nipped at the bud before they become something that blooms. So happy to continue to work with you all, and of course we'll look to work that way.
Thank you both. Any other questions from council? We're going to move along. All right, good. And as always, you can ask them questions offline if you think of something at midnight tonight. So Chief Schaefer, you're going to tell us about, what are you, wildland fire preparation. And if you could keep it to 5 minutes, I would love that.
Okay, I'll do my best. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, making it as fast as I can. So probably like you have watched in the news, the current predictions from our FBAN, our fire behavioral analyst, is that we're in unprecedented times. About 3 weeks prior to what we're normal or used to seeing in the urban forest is occurring in terms of dryness and lack of humidity across the entire landscape, both in the city and outside. The specifics, and I'll try to send this presentation to you so you have a copy, but the fuels essentially that we watch very closely are dangerous. They're extremely scary. We had a fire on Saturday where the fire was spotting, 300 yards in front of the main origin and the main head of the fire, simply because our fuels that are on the surface are exceptionally dry. Even though we had rain this morning, it just doesn't appreciably change the risk whatsoever. Our current predictions, as I mentioned, is that we will have very dangerous fire behavior into this early part of the summer and throughout the summer. We're expecting those exceptional fire behavior that I talked about, the spotting, the torching, the carrying fire across the landscape in the canopy will be normal for us this year, where other years it would not be. And then two terms that we use really often, and I know, Lori, you're very familiar with these, but the wildland-urban interface is identified in a map that I'm going to show in a second, versus the intermix. The intermix will find more farther out from the urban area in the county, where the specific structures are surrounded by 2 or more sides by wildland area. But most of our Spokane are urban areas that interface with the wildland, or at least one side directly into our forest area. The ask was, what are we doing? And I think I just want to run down these 4 slides real quick. One of the benefits that you afforded to us at the beginning of COVID was the purchase of a program called Intera. We used Intera to track and deploy resources based on the prevalence of COVID clusters across a community. This is a screenshot of our current deployment for COVID. But what it also allowed us to do, because it's an all-risk program, is to work with the DNR to create a wildland-urban interface and intermix map, and map our highest areas of urban interface, and also develop plans for those specific properties and for the evacuation of people in those areas. So this last 3 months, we've been working with DNR on a program where our citizens can contact the DNR via social media or a website and sign up to have one of our crews or a DNR crew come out and actually evaluate their property. So the photos on the bottom, Guy Gifford is the DNR representative, but I met him on Friday, and we were doing some planning work in the Indian Trail neighborhood. And this is a few of our community members in the city that butt upright next to the interface, as you can see in the picture on the bottom left. The data that we gain from these interactions with the public not only helps educate our public with actions that they can take to reduce the spread of wildland fire on their property, but it also takes that information in real time and puts it into the hands of first responders. Again, with your support with the purchase of Intera and our mobile data computers that we bought with capital from 2 years ago, all of this is finally coming together. Two last things I'll mention. We did this year and towards the latter part of last year establish a relationship with Avista so that we're a first response agency for Avista when they have a report through their network of lines down. We send the closest resource, whether there's a fire or not. Once they determine that there is a down power line, this picture on the right of your screen was a down power line that occurred on Saturday on the West Plains. That was a result of a 60-acre fire in heavy timber. You can see, or you can imagine what that would be like if that occurred in Indian Trail, Beacon Hill, 195, or anywhere in the South Hill. Their network notifies them when there's a line down. We'll be able to respond to that through an agreement with Avista and hopefully curb any bad reaction or bad consequence from that. And lastly, this one is Council Member Kinnear's pride and joy here. The GOAT program has been exceptionally positive in the community. In fact, the people that we worked with on the Indian Trail neighborhood specifically asked for goats, for hiring goats for their backside of their property that looks over 9 Mile. And I think you're going to see more and more of this tool used in our community to reduce fuel. Reducing fuel reduces risk. The last part of the slide is essentially the community information piece. We do have a community risk reduction manager. Her name's Jamie McIntyre, and her primary focus is reducing risk throughout the community wherever that risk lies. So in this case, in spring, summer, and actually fall now, since our fire seasons are going into October, she is out there in the community working with these different programs and managing these collaboratively across the city enterprise as well as with our state and federal partners. That is the quickest update I can do in less than 5 minutes, hopefully. How did I do?
That was fabulous.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions?
And I got to see the goats for the first time this year, and they are eating machines. I've never seen anything like it.
Yes.
Any questions for Chief Schaefer? Just speak up because I can't see you all.
Chief, can you just send us that PowerPoint? I want to share that map with the neighborhoods because I think if they saw the danger and how close it was to them, there's quite a few areas inside the city limits. One of the things, I don't know if that map can be adjusted. I don't really know what the gray portion is. It doesn't look like that's actually the city limits. I don't know if that's just urban. But
I'll do even better for you, Councilmember Mumm. It's live online and people can access it. So
Great.
I'll send you the URL and you can share that with everybody.
Because I'm just thinking
to get more. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Jamie, if she could break it down by neighborhood, just overlay the neighborhood map on that, then
Sure.
that would be super helpful as we go to neighborhood meetings for people to really understand how it affects them. Thank you.
Great idea. Thank you for that.
Any other questions? Thanks so much, Chief Schaefer. I'm going to mix it up just a little bit because I see that Jan is waiting in the wings. I don't want to take any more of her time. And so I'm going to go to the council request, Behavioral Health Unit grant applications. This was a request by Councilmember Cathcart, and I don't have any more information on that. Michael, did you want to elaborate at all?
Yeah. So my question, and if there's a better place for this conversation, somebody please let me know. But I recall about 4 or 5 weeks ago, there was a story about how SPD tried to get somebody from the behavioral health unit out to help in a situation where there had been a bomb scare, and they refused. I mean, they flat out just said, no, we will not send somebody out. And so I'm wondering, have we thought about looking at those contracts, try to figure out a better way? I mean, I think there was a shooting as a result of that incident. And so obviously with the heightened concerns over these sorts of things, is there a better way that we could be engaging the behavioral health units to make sure that we have them active when we need them? I guess that's really the crux of my question and concern.
You're on mute.
We do have a way for law enforcement to contact our designated crisis responders. I don't know about the full accuracy of the statement that was made. I think that there were some circumstances that were not made public, but our crisis services operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And by statute, we do respond when there are requests for our services. I think that there is a process in place for those requests from law enforcement to come to us, and that there is a way that we communicate with them so that it's clear when we will be responding and under what circumstances.
So if SPD calls up, says we need mental health intervention, it will show up regardless? Is that?
We will show up. I cannot tell you how quickly we will show up because we cover the entire county. And I have limited staff that operate 24/7, but we will show up. And if at a minimum, we will let the officer know approximately what period of time we will be able to respond. And if the situation is imminent, then law enforcement under the statute has the ability to take that person into their custody if they feel like there is a great risk, and that to wait for us to arrive on scene may, create more of a challenge.
But if the goal is de-escalation, then taking them into custody may not be an option, perhaps. So anyway, that's really my question. And Chief, I don't know if you have any thoughts. I mean, do you feel like the program works well the way it is now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to be blunt. Okay. I'm real happy with one of the quotes from one of our officers in that article I think you're referencing. FBH, like you heard Jan say.
Chief, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, you are? Okay, let me go into my settings and see if my microphone volume is down. Does this sound better? Does this sound better now? That is, yeah. Okay. My microphone volume is down. So anyways, real quick, just going to be blunt. I was not happy with one of the quotes from one of our staff member on that. Frontier Behavioral Health has basically many more calls than they can get to as quickly as they would like to, just like we do as well. We do have other resources we can use as well. Obviously, when it comes to mental health, there's the competing interests of community safety versus government intrusion. I would like to say it's very clear-cut. It's not always clear-cut. I think our relationship with Frontier Behavioral Health is phenomenal, and it's so good that we are working on a program which you'll hear more about soon of a mental health response only to those calls that typically law enforcement goes on, because we're plugging that gap. So again, we do have tools that we can use. Sometimes, though, there's not enough that this person is a danger to themselves or others. So we will try to line them up with resources. With us being call-driven, with Frontier Behavioral Health being call-driven, we have to take the most critical incidents first, and then they'll go in a queue for follow-up at some point as we get more staffing or as those responders have time to respond. But it is just such as you all know with mental health, there is so much need out there.
Did you hit send yet?
Okay, I really appreciate all of that input. Thank you.
Well, I just want to recognize a shout out to John, the senior African American guy that moved here.
Betsy, are you talking?
Betsy, I think you're on.
Or
got it. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Cathcart. Chief Meidel, that leads us right into our discussion about moving the applicable 911 calls to the mobile response team for Frontier Behavioral Health. And Chief, you and I have been talking about this with Jan for some time. So can we get really a brief update about where we are at this point?
Yes. Jen, do you want to start or would you like me to?
Go ahead, Chief.
Okay. So this actually, we've been talking about this for several months now. We called in an organization. I'm sorry, it's a million things going on. Still trying to dig myself out of emails. A national organization that has done this in other jurisdictions as well. And I don't think, and you please, Councilwoman Kinnear, Jan, correct me if I'm wrong. Just don't do it publicly, please. I don't think they had anything earth-shattering. I think we're on the right track. We're looking at what other agencies are doing. So really what we're trying to do is look at what calls are law enforcement responding to that maybe we don't need to respond to because the individual calling in may be in a crisis, but they're really not manifesting a threat to themselves or others. But it's just one of those things that law enforcement has traditionally filled that gap. So we're putting together a committee. Jan's going to be representing Frontier Behavioral Health. One of my lieutenants, Lieutenant Wheeler, who will represent SPD. One of our dispatch supervisors will represent dispatch as well. Sitting down, look at the calls and what are the criteria where we feel safe. And again, Frontier Behavioral Health is going to have a seat at the table. What calls are you safe sending your folks to? What are the elements where we feel like if this element is present, let's not send Frontier Behavioral Health to these calls as well. So we want to make sure we're looking at the types of calls and then fleshing out what elements are going to be an automatic disqualifier for this program as well. One of the I think a lot of folks may not know is that Frontier Behavioral Health already has an NCAT team. They do a phenomenal job as well. So we're also looking at, do we leverage that? Do we expand that? And how does that fit into it as well?
Jan, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think the chief summarized it very well. It really is about looking at those 911 calls that come in where perhaps officer response is not needed because we can triage the call and we can determine that the individual calling may be someone who calls 911 frequently and they want an officer response, but there really is no risk. There's not a risk to themselves or to others. And there are no weapons involved, and the individual who is calling in is not threatening to harm anyone, and they are not actively violent. So it really is about taking a look at what is the history of the types of calls that come into 911 and which of those calls could be diverted to this mobile outreach team so that they can be the first line of response. And then, of course, if needed, if we were to get there and find out that there's more to the situation than this team can manage, then they would call in, like the behavioral health unit, to provide assistance or call into Crime Check to get some assistance. But what we've seen across the nation is that this is it is a model that is being used in a lot of the larger cities like San Francisco, and they use it in LA, and they're using it in Oregon, and the model has been very successful. And it has helped to take a certain percentage of these calls off of law enforcement because getting a mental health person to respond has seemed to be the more ideal way to go.
So stay tuned. We're going to continue to move on that. And when we get ready when everything's in place, then we'll bring this back to the full council. Councilmember Wilkerson, you have something to say.
Thank you, and thank you, Jen, for being here. So I guess my question with Frontier Behavioral Health and our contract, then should we be looking at beefing that up or expanding that as we reimagine policing and what that looks like, knowing that Frontier has its own challenges with this bandwidth of all the calls that come in. So I'm a little concerned that we know the need is there. Is Frontier able at this point in time to really step into that space and meet the needs of Spokane and the entire county to do this work?
Well, it will definitely take additional staffing. And the chief mentioned our MCAT team, our Mobile Community Assertive Team, and the response that we can provide with that team is a lot more expedited than like my crisis response services. And part of it is because we are taking a lower level of acuity with the calls that are coming in. So my thinking around this would be if there are funds to add staff, that I would add those staff to the MCAT team, which would give me a wider number of individuals who could respond to these kinds of 911 calls, because I can spread the calls across all of the members of that MCAT team versus just a few people.
And how many MCAT teams does Frontier have currently?
Boy, it's one MCAT team, and they operate 7 days a week, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 11 o'clock at night, and then Saturday and Sunday they operate from 7 to 7. And the total number of staff I have, I want to say it's probably about high 20s. I don't have the exact number on me. I'm sorry.
And I appreciate that, Jen. I just know that MCAT team is amazing, but there's just one. They're doing the whole county. That is where the challenge is sometimes in just the response of getting to the next crisis. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Councilmember Wilkerson, the chief and I discussed funding for additional staff, not to stretch the staff that is currently working, but to add staff for this particular program. And I talked with Council President about it, and he identified the funding. So I feel confident we can go forward and we could start this as a pilot, see how it goes. And if it works well, we could continue it. So that's the plan for the moment. Any other questions? Righto. Jan, thanks so much. I appreciate you coming to our meeting. Thank you. We're going to jump back up to public safety capital investment, and we're going to be doing both the fire and police at the same time. So, Johnny Perkins, did you want to start?
Councilmember Kinnear, I'm going to turn it immediately over to our Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, council members. I'm going to take this opportunity to, and it's a perfect opportunity actually, to go back in history a little bit and talk about the Spokane Investment Pool loan program that was initiated to fund our public safety equipment that was initiated in 2014. Take you a little bit through the history of it, what the updated numbers look like and how it's projected. And I do want to emphasize, though, that some of the numbers that you're going to see, and it is laden with numbers, so prepare yourself mentally for it. But what you are about to see is from last year's capital improvement plan. It is not reflective of what police and fire will be updating for 2022 and beyond. Okay? So let me start there. Can everybody see this okay? Oh, okay, so let me share the other way around. Okay, so everybody can see that all right. Excellent. And so you can see here, as of March 8th, this is when we updated it. And the approach that I want to take with you is to break this down into two pieces. Even though it is a single program, I'm going to break it down into two pieces. We hope we get to the end place right where we need to be. So there were two 5-year funding plans presented, 2018 through 2014 through 2018 funding plan, a total of $26 million for the 5-year period. And then again, another 5-year plan was presented of $21.7 million for that 5 years. And that was for 2019 through 2023. One of the key things that I want you to keep in mind is that both of these 5-year plans were tied to the initial CIPs during this period, but those CIPs were not updated even though the funding stayed locked. And there were a lot of changes that were happening operationally between fire and police during that period. But the way we're going to kind of break this down so that we can all get on the same page is we're going to look at the general fund contribution, which is the 1% of general fund property tax calculation plus a match, and that was used to fund the debt service. And then the second activity is the SIP loan proceeds that were then used to buy the capital outlay. So I'm going to start you back here on the general fund. So the general fund, the way the general fund contribution was determined was looking at a 1% calculation of property tax and matched. But all it really is simply an amount that is coming from the general fund to fund debt service. Okay? And if you noted before on those funding plans, there was an assumption that we were going to incur debt of at least $47 million for the 2 5-year periods. But here's how the debt service annualized out. So if you look at this and you see the total amount of revenue, $21 million, that came from the general fund and funded $17 million in debt service, leaving $4.2 million that is still sitting over in that fund for programming. It can be used for debt service or capital outlay. It is still there. I know this is teeny tiny. We'll make sure that if you haven't had a chance to see this presentation, you can. But you can see here's round one of those borrowings, 2014 through 2018, and how it got the annual debt service. This lines up with what you just saw. And then round two and round two for 2019 through 2023. If you look on this spreadsheet, there was a plan anyway to continue borrowing for SIP with another round 3, which would have been the next subsequent years. What I want to point out, though, is in 2021, with all of the annual debt service, total over $6 million of annual debt service, which exceeds the amount of the general fund contribution. Okay? Now I'm going to switch and go to the second activity, which was the amount of those loan proceeds and the capital outlay that was used. So you can see here $34.4 million of historical SIP loans, and we spent or allocated for the capital outlay $34.2, just a little bit less. So here's the $153 that is now available for debt service or capital outlay. Now I'm going to switch to the future, and then we're going to put it all together. So if I go to the general fund revenue, here's just a continuation of the 1% in the match, or a continuation of the general fund revenue amount, but it's just growing based on a CPI index tied to equipment.
Yeah.
That's what is assumed here. You look at the debt service, and
Tanya, I just had a quick question.
Sir.
So originally, we were still going to do the increase of the 1% general fund and 1% of the match. So it looks like that's $500,000 or $600,000 a year that would just go up. But we didn't do it for 2021 because of COVID. But the original plan, I thought, was going to continue to stair step that up and then eventually stop new borrowing and then pay off the any outstanding SIP loans, several years into the future from now. I just want to clarify that was the plan originally.
That certainly is an option, council member, and we would actually bring that plan forward or that option forward and respectfully ask for formal council action on that.
But I'm just clarifying that was the plan, kind of got interrupted by COVID. So that's all I'm trying to clarify, is that was the original plan. It's my understanding.
I do remember a conversation from last summer. This is the documentation that was in the plan prior to that. So yes, there could be a change on the funding here.
Okay.
as we continue here, so this has an increase for that, and then the debt service, which would all go out to 2026, no more debt service, and you do see that this accumulates. To Council President's point, if more funding from the general fund were committed towards this effort, then this would certainly increase. So if we look at the SIP loan and the capital side of it, you see no more SIP loan proceeds, but I do want to also remind the council that the 5-year funding plan included SIP borrowing through 2023, but here we have zeroed it out. But we do need to get a confirmed formal plan in place. Here are the expenses, capital, and again, this capital is yet to be updated with the latest information from police and fire. But you can see how this deficit then grows.
I'm going to interrupt you. I have another question. One of the things that's always a mystery to me is how do we come up with these numbers? Because I don't feel like council gets presented, hey, this is how many trucks we want, this is how many police cars we want. So it's hard to know whether it's a wish list, it's an absolute list. I don't feel like we're getting engaged early enough to figure that out. So I'm curious, how do you think would be the best way to do that?
Great question, Council President. These numbers were actually based on, again, from 2021, a vetted and detailed list that the department submitted and put into the capital improvement plan. I would say it probably is a very good idea to go through those in detail, and that is what we are reviewing right now, is what they have submitted. We are in the process of starting that detailed review of exactly what they've submitted.
All right. Well, my request, and I think Councilmember Mumm has a question. I just would like, before it gets in the plan, that council do the review as well, so that we're not being told, oh, this is the plan, when we haven't weighed in and said, yeah, great job, that's what we think it is, or we'd like to adjust. So we've been doing the same thing in streets, of really wanting to get involved and get the community involved so people understand it and aren't just told, oh, this is the way it is. And I know you're trying to bring that kind of transparency to the process, and I appreciate it. So I'm just saying this to support you in that effort.
So I would like to interject here before Councilmember Mumm. We don't have a lot of time. I'd like to get through this. I do want to say and echo Council President, I'd like to see what we're actually purchasing and be able to go through it, number one. Number two, I feel like this is deja vu all over again because we've gone through and agreed that we wanted to use the 1% and the match. So I'm wondering why we're even discussing SIP loan again. I feel like I'm having some kind of out of body here. So if you could, Councilmember Mumm, did you want to chime in before I'll stop talking?
Well, I think the piece that I think is important, a piece of data in these columns, is what the interest rate is, because that's supposed to be fluctuating. And I am concerned, and maybe I'm just confused, that we're using 0.76 when the resolution from 2014 is supposed to be 0.75 above the U.S. Treasury yield, which would put us at 2.3.
Councilmember, each of those loans, and if I go way back here, each one of these borrowings has a different interest rate, except for when we refinanced it, and then they were all set to the same interest rate.
Right, but you say at the end it's 0.76?
That was at the time that we refinanced all of those loans.
Oh, okay.
It was
but that's
very,
why
very
the model doesn't sustain, right? I mean, because the interest rate was different.
Well, here it is when it's combined. Remember, council has not taken the only formal action that council has had is on the 2 5-year borrowings. Council has not taken any formal action to increase the general fund contribution beyond the 1% plus the match. And council has not taken any formal action other than what you're seeing right here. Right here.
Got it.
So, except that council did say we would like to go forward with using the 1%. I remember that distinctly, that we had an agreement to go forward using the 1% and not to continue using SIP loans. I know I'm not crazy.
And it's right here. It is right here, council member. This assumes the 1% and the match continues. Yes.
No.
And it also shows no more SIP borrowing. And then when we put it together, the two pieces, the two activities together, you see what happens at the fund level shows that we start running a deficit for the old plans, the old CIPs, and it will be unsustainable going forward.
But if I saw the number that you had, the 1% increase didn't. You changed it to CPI, not an extra 1% and match every year. So in your numbers.
That is correct, Council President, because Council would have to take formal action to increase that general fund contribution.
I know. But what Councilmember Kinnear is saying is that we've said that that's what we want to do for a while. So I know that we have to do the formal action, but so she's wondering why that's not in the thinking, because we've said we want to do that. So we want to see, not today because we don't have time, but we want to see what that would look like if we kept doing that.
I can certainly show that. I'm going to just go right here to the end then. The other slides just simply combined the two activities and shows that we're in the same place. Certainly with no more SIP loans, and again, this is without formal action to increase the general fund contribution. With no more SIP loans, it's unsustainable beyond 2021. And I'm really going to say your options down here, which you've already identified, options must be considered to maintain viable in the program beyond, is increase the general fund contribution, which is exactly what you've pointed out in your planning, is you would like to see that general fund contribution increase. So we can run scenarios for that increase. Strategically utilize SIP borrowing. There may be opportunities to use SIP borrowing. In this case, and I understand the situation at the time, it was the SIP loans for the entire program. And sometimes it might be strategic to only do SIP loans, say, for the fire apparatus, because those are extremely expensive pieces of equipment, and use it only for those large pieces and not for everything, the whole program. Also, another strategy is to decrease the annual debt service. And that was something we'd proposed before of restructuring the debt service so it lowers the cost. And that would be something certainly to consider if there is not sufficient general fund dollars to support an increase in the general fund contribution, or combinations of the above items. So again, Council, the intent here was just make sure we were on the same page, that we had some understanding. That deficit amount is definitely going to increase as fire and police operations continue to expand or the equipment ages. The cost of the equipment is definitely more expensive, and operations are just changing. So that will continue, and so I would also suggest that we have a strong nexus between what we're contributing that ties with the CIP. And that is to your point of looking at that CIP in detail, getting some input into that and what we're funding, and going from there and basing how much we're going to fund on the need.
Okay, so we're going to need to wrap it up because we're approaching the bewitching hour. So can we wrap this up in a minute? I guess we can. Thank you, Tanya. Any questions, quick questions? Council President, you look like you're going to say something. All right. Okay. Tanya, thank you. And as always, again, we can ask her questions because we know where she works and she's accessible. So thank you. One last quick one. This is mine, and it was about using FEMA reimbursement to purchase vacant or underused motels, hotels to house citizens experiencing homelessness. And I've been pursuing this for probably the last year because it was brought to my attention that a commercial real estate person had some motels that he was trying to sell. And he approached me and said this would be a great idea to use and I thought indeed it would. I'm putting it out there for consideration. Cupid, I see you're still on this call. I don't know if that's something y'all are considering, purchasing a motel. I know they are for sale out there, and don't know if it's an option.
Yeah, thanks, council member. One of the considerations when I'm just trying to be innovative is the ability to capture units if they're for sale. But I don't ask myself question number one. I ask myself question number two is what's the sustainability plan on owning an asset that you have capital repairs for, that you have programming for, that you have to make sure that you're able to fund and run and function. And so it's not a yes and it's not a no. It is something that we've thought about. But I always ask myself question number two is like, after the purchase, what is the possibility and the sustainability? And frankly, where does it fall into what the mayor wants to see and what you all want to see? And how does this add to our housing pipeline? So always a consideration. But like I said before, it's always knowing the situation we're in. It's question number two, which is sustainability.
That is an excellent answer because we're not in the housing business. And that is not a primary function of municipal government. So I appreciate that. Any questions about that? So we can continue to talk, Mr. Alexander, if I have other questions. So for the good of the order, I'm going to adjourn. Our next meeting is July 12th. And I wish you a great day. We have a 3:30 briefing. And then we have a 6 o'clock ledge, which is going to be quite long. So Council President tells us to eat dinner beforehand. So thank you all for participating, and we will see you in a couple of minutes.